Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to the 12th episode of Newspapers, Camilla and Caffe. I hope your morning has started off in a nice, pleasant way and you're ready to look with me at the international news today. So today I'm going to do things a bit differently. First of all, I'm going to comment on the language of a few titles and regarding the topic of Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony and what happened, who was there, and so on. And then after I've told you about a couple of titles, we're going to look at a very short article about a curious, peculiar presidential tradition that I didn't know about and I've just found out this week. So maybe some of you will already know about it, maybe not. So we're going to quickly read and comment this very short article later on. And stay till the end because we've got big news for you also coming up. So let's start off by reading a few titles regarding Joe Biden's inauguration ceremony. I'm going to read first a title taken from the New York Times. So one of the articles related to the inauguration ceremony went, Biden kicks off term with executive orders and primetime celebration. All right, so primetime celebration is a moment, prime time means a moment in which everyone is watching, the whole country is watching and the whole world was watching. So they were watching Biden kick off term. Kick off is a way to say start. Okay, his term, so his period in which he's going to be the president, with executive orders. So he started off by signing bills right away. So here we go with our first title. Biden kicks off term with executive orders and primetime celebration. Another title that I wanted to read for you is taken by BBC News, and it's about the poet that read at the inauguration ceremony. And you might know about her, you might have seen her. So here goes the title. Amanda Gorman, inauguration poet, calls for unity and togetherness. So she calls for unity and togetherness. It means she publicly wants us to know that this is what the US need right now. She publicly asks for something to happen. So unity and togetherness is what we need right now. So here was the second title, Amanda Gorman, inauguration poet, calls for unity and togetherness. Then we're going to look at a couple of titles taken from the Washington Post, and one is Kamala Harris sworn into history with vice presidential oath. All right, so here we have this expression, sworn into history. So in the passive, this phrasal verb means when you formally introduce public officer to their role, and during the ceremony, they promise that they're going to perform their duties well and support the country that they're working for. So Kamala Harris sworn into history with the presidential oath. Why sworn into history and not only into her position as vice president? So here I'm going to read a couple of lines for you that describe this title in a better way. Kamala D. Harris was sworn in as vice president of the United States on Wednesday, shattering barriers, so breaking barriers, not only as the first woman to hold a nationally elected office, but also the first Black woman and first Asian American to reach such heights. So to reach such heights is like to obtain such an important position. So this is why the title didn't go Kamala Harris sworn in as vice president, but sworn into history. She's going to make history with her position being the first woman in that position. And then we've got another title, once again taken from the Washington Post, and it goes, an inauguration like no other. So like no other means unique, very different, something that nobody's ever seen before. And I'm going to read a couple of lines just for you to understand why this title was chosen. After a year like no other, a country wrestling with a deadly pandemic, so struggling with a deadly pandemic, a president who refused to concede the election, crippling unemployment, so very serious, damaging unemployment, and food lines, the 2021 inauguration was already going to be unlike any other. So we have unlike any other means like no other. One of the two terms has to be negative, either unlike any or like no. So given all of these facts, this inauguration was already going to be unique, was going to be different. Then the US Capitol was besieged, attacked, the first breach of the building since the War of 1812, and an unprecedented assault on the peaceful transition of power. So why was this inauguration unique like no other? Not only for the circumstances, but also because it was not such a peaceful transition of power. All right, so these were a few of the many titles of different articles that you can find regarding the topic of inauguration ceremony of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we're now going to read a short article that is about this presidential tradition that I knew nothing about, and I found it quite curious. I thought it was going to be peculiar, and I wanted to share it with you. So we're reading the article now. You can see it right next to me, and here's the title. Here's why Joe Biden uses so many different pens to sign executive orders. So this article is going to explain us the reason why so many pens are used. I honestly never noticed that many different pens were used to sign different executive orders, but apparently this is so. There's an inky history to the curious presidential tradition. President Joe Biden didn't waste any time putting pens to paper after Wednesday's inauguration. So putting pen to paper is an expression, an idiom that says to start writing. So he didn't waste any time putting pens to paper because he started signing executive orders right away. He's been signing executive orders related to the Paris Climate Agreement, the coronavirus pandemic, and Keystone XL pipeline. And he did so with an entire suite of pens at his disposal. So when we use and he did so, it means he did this, what we've just talked about. He did it with an entire suite of pens at his disposal. While Biden used one pen for his first three orders on Wednesday, some viewers noticed him reaching for a series of different pens. So he was going and getting different pens every time. So reaching for a series of different pens while signing orders for the US pandemic response on Thursday. The pens then stayed with the orders. So the orders on Wednesday were all signed by the same pen, while on Thursday, when he signed the orders related to the pandemic, he was using different pens at all times. Why so many pens? It's a tradition with a purpose. So it's not accidental. There was a proper intention to this act of signing with different pens. The pens are essentially government souvenirs, often given as a gift, given as a present, to commemorate the signing of orders or bills. Bills are the suggestions for a new law that the president signs in order to pass them on to the parliament to be discussed, and they may become laws. So this is what we mean by bill. Okay, it's the suggestion of a law. So the pens. So yeah. In a White House video in 2010, Lisa Brown, White House staff secretary at the time, said she wasn't sure exactly when the tradition started. So we don't know when this started, but that John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson used multiple pens to sign legislation during their terms. So during the period in which these presidents were in charge, already back then, they did this thing of signing with different pens. It may date back as far as Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry Truman administrations. So when we say it may date back, it means it may have started, this tradition may have started back then when with Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry Truman. The practice is that the president uses a number of pens and then gives the pens to the people who worked particularly hard on the bill. So people who were involved and put effort into it, people who sponsored the bill, who really fought to get it done. Okay, so they put all of themselves into it, or to whom the bill means a great deal. So these pens are given to the people that are involved in the creation of the bill, the people who sponsor it, the people who fought for it, or the people for whom the bill means a lot. This is what a great deal means. Barack Obama famously used 22 pens to affix his name to the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare, in 2010. So he used 22 pens to write one single signature. According to a government transcription of the signing event, he said, Obama, "I've got to use every pen, so it's going to take a really long time. I didn't practice." That meant using multiple pens for each of the letters in the name. So since the Obamacare bill was such an important law and so many people worked for it, he was going to leave. He wanted to leave a pen to each one of the people that really worked hard to make it happen. And so he used 22 pens to write his signature. So for each letter, he used a different pen. Biden had it relatively easy. Had it relatively easy means it was easy for him. So we can use either of these expressions. So Biden had it relatively easy using one pen per order on Thursday. But it could get more complicated when it comes to signing major bills into law later. So when the bills turns into law, so they are very serious, very important, he's going to need to use more pens in order to leave them to the people that worked for these bills to come true. And so it's going to get more complicated. This is what we are saying here. He might want to start practicing. As Obama said, he didn't practice and his signature was very strange with all of those separate letters. Joe Biden might want to start practicing. So he's probably going to be himself in the condition in which he needs to use multiple pens to sign a bill. So this tradition, I didn't know about it, and I saw that there are quite a few videos online in which you can see this act of taking different pens every time when it comes to Biden. And you can also find the 2010 video with Obama signing a different letter of his name for each, using different pens for each letter of his name. So I thought that was quite curious, and I wanted to share it with you. So going back to what we've seen today, we focused. I decided to focus and draw your attention to a few phrasal verbs that I know are very, very hard to memorize, but we've seen them in this context of Biden's inauguration and in the context of this tradition. So I'm going to recap them for you. We have to swear in, we often use it in the passive, and it means to be sworn in. So someone is sworn in. It means that we introduce a new public official or a leader with a special ceremony in which they promise that they're going to do their best for their country or the organization that they're working for. So Kamala Harris was sworn in, or Joe Biden was sworn in. Then we saw to date back. This was related to the tradition, to when it dated back. And we use it to say that something has existed since a specific moment in the past. So something dates back to a specific moment in the past. It means this tradition, this event started back then. Then we also saw to kick off in one of the titles of the articles. Kick off is, as I told you, it means to start, to begin. It's really informal, and it comes from the football tradition, because to kick is when you hit the ball with your foot. So the kickoff is the first kick that the players give to the ball to make the match start, to make the game start. So to kick off has taken up this meaning of starting. And then we also saw to call for, when Amanda Gorman was calling for unity. So to call for is to publicly ask for something to happen. So to call everyone's attention to a specific topic, in this case, unity and togetherness. All right, so these were our words for today, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my comments. However, as I told you at the beginning, we've got big news for you regarding the upcoming weeks. In fact, next week, someone else is going to comment and read the news for you. Next week, we are having news with Tom. So Tom is going to read and comment and be on this live event instead of me. We wanted to give you, to shake things up a little bit, to give you a more of a dynamic approach and give you the opportunity to listen to someone else as well. And so I hope you will appreciate this little thrill that we wanted to give you, this opportunity to listen to someone else and their ideas, their English. And so don't forget that at 9:15 on Wednesday morning, someone's going to be here with you commenting news. The next week is not going to be me, it's going to be Tom. But I'm really glad that this nice exchange is going to happen, and I hope you will appreciate it. So be curious, come back next week and listen to what Tom has to tell you, as always, on Wednesday mornings at 9:15. That's everything for today, and see you soon. Have a nice rest of the day, have a nice rest of the week, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.